Oh, hello, hello, my friends. This short movie will tell you about our trip that we undertook to Scramble Roche Perdrix, which is a mountain that is shown in the photo just on the border of the National Park in Jasper. We arrived at approximately 7:30 and very shortly we started our ascent of the mountain. It was 10 of us. At this stage I have to explain that Roche Perdrix means rock of partridges, because supposedly there were many partridges that lived here back then in the 19th century. I will introduce now our team members, starting with the ladies first. There was Gosia, Basia, Ada, Beatka and Grace. And as far as the guys, there was Piotr, Roman, Boris, Mike and Andrzej, for a total of 10 people. The first part of the trip is quite easy. It is mostly hiking, which takes about 1/3. As far as the altitude goes, we had a pretty good pace and we were gaining height quite rapidly. After approximately 400 meters and about 1 hour of hiking, we came to the point where the trail is turning to the left, and it is indicated there by the large arrow made of rocks. This is the arrow which can be seen very clearly. We turned to the left. We had to put our helmets on because there is a possibility that there would be some stones falling down from this large granite wall that we were walking under. We had to traverse the mountain at this stage. The part of traversing the mountain took approximately another hour or so. We were not gaining much altitude, we were just walking mostly sideways, and it was a little bit of scramble, but it wasn't too difficult. The sideways traverse was without major obstacles. The only dangerous part was crossing several snow-filled gullies filled with hard-packed snow, because snow is very slippery, and given that the gullies are steep, in case you fall and slide down, you might end up who knows where, especially since the gullies were really long and stretching almost all the way to the bottom of the valley. In fact, 2 people in our group fell and they slid down quite a bit. Luckily enough, they managed to arrest themselves, so it was a good end. After crossing the last gully, we had to negotiate this steep wall which was taking us to the top of the ridge. It was all scramble from this point on. We had to use our hands and we had to be very careful because the rocks were a little slippery. At this stage, the visibility was still okay on the other side of the valley, but our part of the valley was submerged in fog and a small amount of wetness. We could see the top of Mount Perdrix in front of us, and those are some people in our group. This is Mike walking up, that's Ada looking pretty. Oh, that's Andrzej scrambling. That's the whole group. That's Beatka and Andrzej. Oh, and that's Grace looking beautiful. Here is Roman looking the way you know how. That's Basia We stopped at this moment for a few minutes just to have a water break and to have a small snack before the final summit attack. At this stage, the weather started to deteriorate and some clouds pulled in, and pretty soon the top of the mountain was covered in a thick fog or a cloud, but we continued up nevertheless. Pretty soon the cloud level started getting lower and lower, and we ended up walking immersed in the cloud. The rocks were getting more wet and more slippery from the moisture. At this stage the rocks were all scree, which was not helping the situation. The weather was getting worse. We were still walking up inside the cloud. The rocks were getting more and more slippery. It was a tiny bit of drizzle at this stage, and we were faced with the decision what to do next. We were still approximately 69 meters below the summit, and at this stage we were trying to come up with a good solution how to handle the rest of the hike. At approximately 1 o'clock we stopped and we had a small discussion, and some people were very tired, almost totally exhausted, so the group decision was that we should turn back and start our descent despite not achieving the top of the mountain. That's our last look onto Mount Perdrix. We are still 69 meters below the top. Basia made her iconic snowman at this stage, and we started our descent back towards the parking lot. Once we got out of the clouds, we had a small bite to eat, nothing very long, and we kept walking back down. Our descent was really slow, was much slower than the ascent, because we had to pay attention so much to the falling rocks, falling stones, and stone avalanches. Even despite the fact that we were trying very hard not to shake any rocks, one of the rocks that we shook fell down and hit one of the ladies in the leg just below the knee, so it was almost impossible to avoid this kind of accident. We were walking down now in exactly the same order as we came up, which means first we had to walk on the ridge, then through the forest, then we had to negotiate this very steep wall, and then after we had to cross the snowy gullies.
Okay.
That's Boris on top of the ridge, and this is us crossing the gullies. The gullies were just as slippery, but we managed to cross without any major incidents. It was still a little wet at this stage, but it wasn't raining, it was just lots of wetness in the air and on the ground, which was not helping because it was so easy to slip. After about 2 hours we came to the arrow, and then from the arrow we started walking to the parking, which took us another hour. As we were hiking down, we could enjoy this most beautiful view of the valley below, and that's the Hinton Valley. After about a couple of hours, we came to the point indicating that now we can turn right and walk down to the bottom of the valley towards the highway. It was from now on just hiking, no more scrambling, and on the way down we could admire some very beautiful flowers. They are called lady slippers that are growing closer to the bottom of the valley. That's us in the parking lot, and after a short rest we went for a dinner to the Greek restaurant. That's Boris and Ada and the rest of the group, and we talked and laughed and we enjoyed the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.